Well, good morning, everyone. Sorry, I don't have my good microphone. I hope everybody can hear me. Hello, everybody. We're in a different location today. I was in the kitchen last week, and that was a bit chaotic. So this is a little better. Give people a little while to join up here. My name's Matthew from My First Fish Tank. In case you don't know me, this is Help Desk Live. This is a place for beginners or really anybody else to drop in and ask questions about the saltwater aquarium hobby. I will answer them. If I don't know the answer, I have a second screen right here. I will look them up and we'll figure out the answer together. It's also a great place for anybody who's on this live stream to just jump on board and help me with the answers or give recommendations. That way it's kind of like a live forum sort of thing. So welcome everybody. Welcome Naaman. Hello there, Queen City, Reef, and more. First question, how can I make great videos like you? Well, thank you. That's very kind of you. But if you want to actually know like some tips for making good videos, I'm more than happy to share those videos. More than happy to share those tips with you. Let me see if I can get my light adjusted here. By the way, I have a better microphone and a better camera coming. So not a better camera, but a way to connect my camera to here. So this will definitely be improving. Good morning, Nishan. Oh, hey, how are you, Nishan? Of course I remember you. Naaman, how to make salt water. Okay. Do you quarantine fish and or corals? If so, how? Good question. We will answer that. Ken Houston. Good morning, Ken Houston. We'll let people a little bit to give people a chance to jump on here. Queen City, yes, please. All right. Well, we'll go through all these questions. We'll start at the top today. Naaman, how to donate? I don't know how you do that. So what are dinos in a reef tank? Also, so many good questions here. Well, how's everyone doing today? I hope everyone's doing well. I had a busy day yesterday. I don't know if you guys saw it on Instagram. Went to Temecula and bought all sorts of fish and stuff. And then I wake up this morning, and last night I was like, please, 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 first time ever, no sick fish. And then I wake up this morning, and you guys know what I saw. One of my clownfish, new clownfish, is covered in spots. And I'm like, ugh. Every time, I swear, every time I bring someone home. So anyway, he's getting the Ruby Rally and Kick Ick treatment right now. All right, well, let's not waste any time here. If you guys are new, and for anybody watching this video, it's live right now, 9 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. We do this every Saturday. You can swing by, stay for the whole time, or you can come by and just ask a question and leave. It's meant to be kind of like open office hours for anybody who has a question, because if you're a beginner, it's really confusing, and there's so many issues out there that you might just need an answer to real quick. No questions, too dumb, unless that's something completely off topic. But other than that, anything on topic, I am more than happy to answer. At the end of this live feed, once YouTube processes it, I will put this video up live, and I will attach chapters down to the bottom. So you'll be able to go and look at the exact question that somebody asked, and then click on that timestamp, and you'll have the answer. That way you can watch this well into the future. And if you're here, if you like this, if you think this will be helpful for today or for some other time, if you could give this video a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button down below if you don't, that would be really, really helpful. All right, I'm gonna do a better job today, by the way, of responding to your chats. I didn't do that very well last time. What are dinos? Ken Houston, hi Ken. When quarantining and using safety stop, can you save the mixture? Good question. Nishan, explain. What are dinos on sandbed? What do they do? Mark, ChemiPure Blue, any good? Okay, let's just start at the top here. Queen City Reefs jumped in before the live stream even started, so I think we have to answer them first. All right, Queen City Reefs, how do you make great videos? Well, I actually love my videos. They take a lot of time and a lot of effort, but let me give you the absolute basics of what to do. Number one, it doesn't matter what you use. If you have an iPhone or an Android device, this is fine. My most popular video I've ever made has 270,000 views. I made it with this phone. Any phone will work. Really, the thing you need to do, which is my greatest struggle, is you need to tell a story. So, you know, whether that's a really classic story, like, you know, beginning, everything's fine, then there's some problem in the middle, and then at the end, whatever your story is, come up with a story. I always start by writing down my ideas for a video, even a very, very simple video, just having a basic outline, right? So have a basic outline, then I go and I shoot that story. And when you're shooting, the only things you really need to think about, you know, are how can you get interesting angles and frame things correctly? I mean, there's all sorts of fancy camera tricks you can do, but really just think about your shot. Think about how you're framing your shot. Are there going to be things in the foreground? You know, what's the background? Are you shooting, you know, midday when it's super hot out? I mean, when it's super bright out, so it's going to blur the shots. If you're inside, can you set up any sort of extra lights to really make that sort of thing pop, right? You shoot all your footage, you come back and you edit it, right? The trick for editing, I use Final Cut Pro, and here's my trick for editing. I always have a hook. I have something at the beginning that's 10 seconds or less that tries to catch people's attention that's on topic for the video. Then there's some sort of like introduction, it can be short, some sort of music, and then we just jump right in. And we just jump right in to try to have a good mix of me talking at the camera and then me doing something. And the biggest thing that I do that I think really makes a difference is using music. I won't go into where I get music from. I get mine from Epidemic Sound. You have to pay for it. But if you edit your videos to the beat, I mean, that will make such a big difference. Literally, just cut your videos on the beat, and it brings people in, and it makes your video look so much more polished. If you just do that by itself, that's great. Shorter is better. I mean, if you take an hour of video, that video will probably only need to be 5 minutes, you know, like just move it along, keep your pacing going really, really well. And yeah, I mean, that's some basic stuff. If you have more specific questions, I'd be happy to answer. I do quite a bit. I mean, I do color grading for all my videos, as well. I use different angles, different cameras. I have GoPros now. I have a whole bunch of stuff. So anyway, that's just kind of the basics of it. I use Final Cut Pro, which I love, but you can use a free program. iMovie is great to start out with as well. There's nothing wrong with iMovie. All right, here we go. How to make salt water. Well, Naaman, you have 2 options for making salt water. 3 options. The first, if you have a small enough tank, just go to your local fish store and buy it. That's the easiest way. That's the way a lot of people start out. You can get 5-gallon buckets with 6-year tops, or you can get 5-gallon buckets that have like screw-on tops. They'll make it for you. You can bring it home. Second option is buy a bunch of distilled water. Go to the supermarket, buy huge gallons of distilled water, however many you need, and then buy a salt mix. There's so many good salt mixes out there. I was going to send you a link if you want a link, but really any commercially made salt mix is going to work. I have my favorites, but they're all going to work. Follow the directions on the salt mix. Take your distilled water, take your salt mix, measure out how much you need, add slowly, give it a really good stir it for quite a while, and then measure how salty it is. You can use a refractometer, or you can use a hydrometer to measure out until you get to 1.024, 1.025, 1.026, somewhere around there. But that's basically how you do it. The third way you can do it is you can buy your own RODI filter, a little higher upfront cost, you know, a couple $100 upfront cost, but then you can make your own 0 TDS water, and then you buy your salt mix, you pour your salt mix in, you stir it, you test to make sure it's salty enough. It's kind of as simple as that. So it's really not too difficult. Do you quarantine fish and or corals? If so, how? Yes, I do. And let me tell you how I currently do it, and let me tell you what I think is the most ideal way, Queen City Reefs. So the most ideal way is you want to quarantine your fish in one quarantine, because if it's a fish only quarantine, right, then you can treat them with medications like copper that aren't going to hurt your invertebrates. You keep your fish separate. Then I would have another quarantine for corals, and that's a different kind of quarantine. Corals and inverts, really, because in that quarantine, you're not medicating the corals and inverts. Really, it's a quarantine to just watch and observe, to pull your corals out, to treat as needed, and then to put them back in. So they're really different kinds of quarantine. So here's how I quarantine currently. The way I currently quarantine is I have one 40-gallon breeder tank. And I made a decision when I went with my 40-gallon breeder tank that my quarantine was going to be a biofilter safe quarantine, and it was going to be an invertebrate safe. So that just takes a whole bunch of medications off the table. okay? Because there's a lot of antibiotics that will hurt your biological filter. That's just how it is, because if you think about it, what's your biological filters? It's different kind of organisms, different kind of living things. So if you use antibiotics, it will kill off a lot of those things. So I have my 40-gallon breeder. I really don't use very many antibiotics on the whole tank as it is. And then because I also have a 40-gallon breeder with fish and coral, I don't use anything that hurts invertebrates. So I certainly don't use any sort of copper products. What does that mean? That means in my quarantine tank, my fish and coral quarantine tank together, I can only use certain treatments like Ruby Rally, Ruby Kick Ick, certain antibiotics that won't affect the inverts. And that means that if one of my fish comes down with like a Brooklynella or a ick, Brooklynella ick, some of the most common ones, I can only use those more homeopathic remedies. So I'm not going to be treating it with copper. I'm not going to be treating it with formalin. And does that mean that I might lose some of those fish? Possibly. But I made the decision to just go with one quarantine tank. If you really want to do the most simple quarantine tank you can do, here, I have a video. Let me try to find this video here. I mean, if you're thinking, hey, I want to set up a quarantine tank, then I would quarantine fish. Let me see if I can find this video for you here. YouTube Studio, quarantine tank. What do I got here? Quarantine. Hi guys, quarantine 12 essentials. I think this is the video. I'll put a link here. I would quarantine fish at a bare minimum. Here's the link. The link's right over here for you guys. Quarantining fish, very simple. I would quarantine fish, quarantine them for 21 days. Fish only, don't put corals, don't put inverts in there. Check out the link if you want to see how to set up your quarantine tank. And that way, if something happens, if a fish gets sick, you can treat with a copper-based medication. You can treat with antiparasitics. You can treat with antibiotics. The thing about having a fish-only quarantine tank with no biological filter is there is no biological filter. So that means all the food, all the waste is going to turn into ammonia. So you have to do water changes much more frequently, or that ammonia level is going to spike really, really quickly. Anyway, that's how I would set it up. Go ahead and check out that link over there. I don't know if I fully answered your question or not, but yes, I do quarantine. I quarantine all my fish and I quarantine all of my corals in one 40-gallon breeder tank. The only time I don't do that is if I'm setting up a brand new tank and it's the first fish. And if I put all the fish in at once into a brand new tank, that tank is in essence my quarantine. Does that make sense? All right, let's see here. Nishan, how was the light schedule? Light display tank for lighting, how many hours? I can answer that one. Normal flow nozzle or random flow generator? Okay. I noticed fish die in quarantine and I use copper power and some survive and others don't. The waste gets very cloudy and have to change. Any advice? Oh, that's a good question too. All right, question number 2. How to make salt water? How do you conduct? Number 3. Good morning. Yes, please. How do I donate? What are dinoflagellates? I have a whole video. I think I talked about dinos last time, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. But Nishan, if you want to go look at the help desk from last week, I talk all about dinos. Dinos are super common in the ocean. A lot of the phosphorescence that you see are caused by dinoflagellates. The only problem with dinos in a reef tank is they're toxic to your fish and your invertebrates. So that's why the dinos are not great in a reef tank and why people dread them so much. But go ahead and check out that last video, the first video that I did, help desk. Let me see here. I'll see if I can find a link for you. And it talks all about dinos. I forget what timestamp it was, but where is it? Live videos. Did it save it? Here we go. Help desk, copy, shareable link. So here you go, Nishan. Here's the link for the first video. And just scroll down and you'll find the timestamp for when I answered that one. Hi, everybody. Producers, Reef Rogue, installing them. Ooh, RFG nozzles, main display. That's fantastic. Random flow generators. Yeah, I have some of those too. Okay. Let me see. Good morning. Yes, please. How are you doing? What are dinos? When quarantine and using safety stop, can you save the mixture? I don't know. Does anybody else know? Can you save the safety stop? I would assume you can, because the safety stop is what? Methylene blue and something else. Let's look it up. Safety stop fish. So I don't know why you couldn't. Here's safety stop. What is it? It's got to be methylene blue and what's the green one called? Methylene blue and, oh, I can't remember the name of the green one. Ingredients of safety stop. But yeah, I don't see why you couldn't save them, but they're also relatively inexpensive. So you might as well just, you know, buy them and, you know, or I mean, you could just buy like the methylene blue yourself. Here, let me see. I'm trying to see what is in the safety stop ingredients. Ingredients of safety stop. Who knows it? Ingredients of safety stop. Methylene blue and formalin. Okay, so formalin is formaldehyde. It's a more stable form of formaldehyde. So that's what you use to treat Brooklinella and clownfish is the formalin dip. And then the methylene blue, obviously that's what a lot of importers use. So yeah, I mean, you could save it. Formalin's pretty shelf stable. Formaldehyde is not shelf stable, but formalin is shelf stable. So you could save it, but I would just, I mean, I would just use a new one. I mean, why not? But I don't see a problem with it. Alrighty here. All right, Mark, thanks for the question. How is the light time schedule? Like display tank lighting for how many hours and how much for a refugium? And how is the cycle related? I think lighting is one of the most confusing topics for any beginner and for any intermediate person because there's just no good things out there. I talked about the light schedule last time. Let me send you guys a link. The easiest way I think to set your light schedule is to just use the Ecotech AB Plus. Let me see if I can find it here. Here's the link. Just scroll down a little bit, Nishant. Here's the link right there. And scroll down to the AB Plus. I just think it's tried and true. So if you can set your lights, if each of your spectrums is programmable, just go with the AB Plus. The AB Plus basically has a 7 hour period. So 9 hours. Yeah. It's basically 9 hours of light during the day, 1 hour ramp up, 1 hour ramp down. And then you have 7 hours where they're at their full intensity. And basically all you do is you put your blues all the way up and you put your greens, reds, and whites down somewhere around 25%. And so that's what you have. You have 100% and 24%. And then if 100% is too strong for your tank, you lower that down to 75% and you lower the other ones down to what? Would that be like 18%? So that's what I would do. Follow the AB Plus schedule. I just think it's the easiest. It's tried and true. Why not? I know tons of reefers who use it. And then you can make slight adjustments to the AB Plus so that, let's say, you know, you want your lights on for more than 7 hours. Well, maybe you only have a 7 hour photo period. And then in the evening, you have, you know, some moon lights on. That's obviously totally fine. So for your display tank, that's what I would do. I would follow the AB Plus schedule. I think it works really well. For your refugium, a lot of people do different things, and it depends on what kind of macroalgae you have. I run my refugium 12 hours a day, my refugium light, and I run it on an opposite cycle. So it basically runs at night. That helps keep the pH up, and it just seems to work out well. When it comes to a refugium light, it depends on what kind of macroalgae you're growing. I know like Cato likes somewhere in the blues, but I know I'm growing like a pom-pom, and I think that likes more like a natural light. So anyway, there's all sorts of options you can do out there. I would just run your refugium light at nighttime, personally, and just get some sort of grow light. You don't need anything fancy. You can go to Amazon and buy some like cheap grow light, clamp it on there, and you'll be good to go. How is the cycle interrelated? I'm not exactly sure what you mean, Nishan. The cycle, like the nitrogen cycle and your light schedule, they're not super interrelated at all. Not that I can think of. Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, I don't think they're related. So no, not related. Okay, next up. Normal flow nozzle or random flow generator, which is better? Creates water bubbles. And I think someone was answering this. I think Rogue Aquarium was answering this. Random flow generator, which is better? Random flow generator creates water bubbles inside. Okay, so one of them is not better than the other. A random flow generator, which I didn't even know about until like 3 months ago, when the owner of VCA, Vivid Creative Aquatics, reached out to me. He's the one who makes that. And he was like, hey, that 40-gallon tank, you probably don't even need any pumps. Just throw these on. And he sent some my way. They're fantastic. A random flow generator has no moving parts inside of it. It has to do with, what do you call the thermodynamics? The water, I don't even know what you call the science behind water movement. But there's a whole science behind it. And basically how it's made, how it's 3D printed, the water will just randomly come out. And if it's coming out, let's say, if it's like this, sorry, I'll use this hand, my light's over here. If it's like this, it's going to come out at random times, depending on the flow. I think like 30-degree angles, right? Up to like 6 different spots. It's really good at generating, obviously, random flow, right? But you have to have the right size return pump, and you have to have the right size PVC, the right size lock line to make it. So you just have to make sure you follow the instructions so that you have the right amount of flow for the head. Which is better? It doesn't matter. I mean, honestly, a random flow is cool because it does create that random flow. It's not necessarily better. If you're going to have a wave maker anyways, then it doesn't really matter if you have a random flow generator or a standard nozzle. I think the random flow generator in my 40-gallon quarantine tank is amazing because it is the perfect amount of flow in different directions that my corals seem to really, really like. So, I mean, why not try them out? They're inexpensive, and you might as well pick them up, give them a shot, see if you like them. I think they're great. All right, how do you know if you have enough flow? Dwight, we'll get there. All right, when quarantining using safety stock, ChemiPure Blue, sorry, Mark, I missed your question. ChemiPure Blue, any good? I've never used ChemiPure products. I know people who swear by ChemiPure products. So I can't personally say is ChemiPure Blue any good, but I can say that ChemiPure makes a very good product. Boyd Industries is extremely well respected in this hobby. So ChemiPure, for those of you who don't know, ChemiPure makes different types. I'm trying to look it up right now. ChemiPure is most ChemiPure is carbon based, but it has other things in there as well. Oh, here we go. Sorry. So it's really good at removing smells, odors, and then depending on what kind of ChemiPure you get, it will remove other things. So ChemiPure Blue is, I'm just checking it out here at Marine Depot. And for those of you who are like, what? Here's a link to ChemiPure. Oh, come on here. Sorry, I'm finding it. Yes, please save that. Custom tracking link. All right, so here's the link on Marine Depot to ChemiPure. So if you're like, what are they talking about? There it is. So ChemiPure Blue. There's ChemiPure Blue, ChemiPure Elite, ChemiPure Green. This is saying what? Premium activated carbon plus high-grade ion exchange resins. You find ion exchange resins in a DI, an RODI filter sort of a thing. The reason I haven't used a ChemiPure, if you're wondering there, Mark, is because I personally like to isolate one sort of chemical filtration media from another. So I like to use carbon when I know I need to use carbon. And I like to use GFO when I know I need to use GFO. And my problem has been that I overfilter. I'm a chronic overfilterer. My nutrient levels in my tanks are always so low that it causes problems. I think that's the biggest reasons that I am an anemone destroyer. I just can't keep anemones. I don't know why, and it's one of my biggest frustrations. I think it's because I overfilter. So I'm working on that personally. But yeah, I mean, ChemiPure Blue is a totally fine product. You're not going to go wrong with any of the ChemiPure products. I would just, it says keeps pH stable, ChemiPure Blue, Elite, ChemiPure Green. So the blue is carbon, phosphate absorption, and organic scavenger resin. So you just have to watch your phosphates. I mean, we used to try to get 0 phosphates, so just make your phosphates aren't going down too low. And the ChemiPure Elite, as opposed to the blue, is carbon, ion exchange resins, and GFO. So ChemiPure Elite's basically GFO and carbon put together. Good product for sure, but only use the ChemiPure if your tank needs it. Don't just throw it in there and think that your tank needs it. Your tank may never need it. And so you don't need to add chemical filtration unless there's a reason for it, if that makes sense. All right. Hey, everybody. Thank you guys for sticking around here. Let me do another introduction. My name is Matthew, my first fish tank. I'm going to be doing this every Saturday. Help desk. This is meant to be like an open office hours for beginners or for anybody else in the hobby who has a question about saltwater fish keeping. If I know the answer, I'll answer it. If I don't, I'll look it up. And hopefully everybody in the chat will also chime in from time to time. This video, once we conclude today, it will stay up. I'll put it in a playlist called Help Desk. You can go down into the description, click on Show More, and I will put all of the questions in a list with a timestamp. So you can go back, click on the timestamp, and see the answer to the question. Anyway, if you guys are here, if you like this, if you find this helpful, if you could give this a thumbs up, that would be super duper helpful. All right, we are moving on. Hello, I bought an already cycled tank with clownfish. Awesome, we'll get there. Producer Reef. You should see if anybody else is chatting. Hey, how do you know if you have enough flow? We'll get there. Thanks, man. Frosty Meadow Fishes. Hey, welcome, Frosty Meadow Fishes. Okay. Producer Reef. Okay, here we go. I noticed fish die in quarantine, and I use copper power. And some survive, and others don't. The water gets very cloudy, and I have to change the water to bring it back up to parts per million. Any advice? So, Producer Reef, I think, was Rogue Aquariums answering you? Yeah. When using copper power, start off at 1 and slowly raise it. So that's really good advice. I have just had bad luck, to be honest, with live fish. I swear, every time I bring a fish home and I put them in quarantine or I don't, they look great. I drip acclimate. I do everything I'm supposed to, and then they get sick. You know, and the next day you can tell they were stressed out. They have spots on them, and it's super duper frustrating. So I have experimented with running a quarantine tank with a low level of copper all the time. I've experimented with having a hyposalinic tank running at like 1.020, and nothing really seemed to help that much. Sorry, I had a big breakfast, everyone. So do you have any advice for getting the water cloudy? I think the advice from Rogue Aquariums is really good. Just raise it slowly. You could also try another copper product. You could try a cupramine. I've used cupramine for years, and I've never had a problem with any cloudy water. So you could try something like that. Is there a reason, Producers Reef? Are you always using copper for like all your fish? If you're still here, I don't know if you're still here or not, but I mean, are you using copper on as just like a preventative measure? And what kinds of fish are dying? And when they're dying, are there noticeable diseases on them when they're dying? Because there are some fish out there that do really, really well with copper, and there are some fish that just don't do well with copper. So I'm just a little bit curious to know more. So if you're watching this, go ahead and type something. I'm pointing over here, but I think you guys see it over here. Type something over here and let me know, and we'll see if we can answer that for you. All right. Morning, everyone. Hi, Rogue Aquariums. If you guys haven't checked out Rogue Aquariums, by the way, you should go check him out. Give him crap for not making more videos because he has a 600-gallon tank, and I'm like, dude, you just gotta take videos of it. It doesn't matter if they're good, you know, but you gotta take videos. If people want to see your 600-gallon, it's a gorgeous acrylic tank. Anyway, so go check them out, Rogue Aquariums. All right, Clarissa. Hi, Clarissa. Thanks for asking a question. All right, here we go. Hello, I bought an already cycled tank with a clownfish in it. It's a good way to go. When I brought the tank home, the sump broke on the drive home. No! Oh, that's like my nightmare. Oh, I'm so sorry. That sucks. I made a new sump. I hooked it up last night. Everything died? What? Okay, I need more. I need more. So tell me more, Clarissa, if you're still here. Tell me more about what happened. You made a new sump. How did you make a new sump? What materials did you use? Did you just use a glass aquarium, right? And then when you say you hooked it up last night, what was there in the interim? Were you like, what did you have on your display tank? Were you just running a wave maker? Was it being oxygenated? And then in the morning when you said the fish died, were there any visible signs? Was there any visible signs of disease or anything like that? So Clarissa, if you're here, go ahead and start typing your stuff. I will come and look back. That's awful. I am so sorry that happened. And it only had, so your one clownfish died, huh? I mean, the clownfish could have died for so many reasons. It's stressful moving. You know, maybe there was a lack of oxygen in there. That could have been, I don't know what the reason is. But tell us a little bit more, and then maybe we can help you troubleshoot. You could also, if you have any pictures, send them to me on Instagram. I'll open my Instagram up. By the way, if you guys want to follow me on Instagram, it's @myfirstfishtank. And if you want to send me pictures or questions, you can just direct message me @myfirstfishtank, and I'll just keep this open and I'll look at them. That way I can kind of show everybody pictures and stuff like that. So yeah, it'd be really great if you could. So yeah, Clarissa, if you have any pictures or anything, go ahead and send them my way. I'm leaving my Instagram open so that I can see if anybody, if you send in pictures. We'll get back to that. All right. Rogue aquariums, Producer Reef. When I was using copper power start off, Rogue aquariums, Darren, if you're still there, do you still use the copper power? Because you don't use, I believe, the cupramine anymore, right? You use some sort of chelated copper. I think that's what it's called. Let us know. That would be great. All right, Nishant, what do we got here? Rogue. Thanks for the shout out, my friend. Yes, I need to put out more content, more videos. Yes, you do, Darren. Looking at you, Darren. All right. Is it a small 20? Okay, so small 20-gallon tank. Nishan, a small 20-gallon tank is okay for a quarantine tank. Yes, a 20-gallon tank is perfectly acceptable for a quarantine tank as long as you're quarantining small fish that could go in a 20-gallon tank, right? If you get some giant puffer fish that needs a 150-gallon tank, you can't put that giant puffer fish in a 20-gallon tank. So your quarantine tank just has to match the size of whatever the fish. Now, let's say you buy some sort of Valentini puffer fish and it's a baby fish. Yeah, you can quarantine that fish in a 20-gallon, even though it's going to need a larger tank over time, right? So yes, a 20-gallon tank is totally acceptable. You could do a 10-gallon tank if you're quarantining small fish or baby fish. Absolutely. Also, hang on back filter would work for quarantine. Yes, hang on the back filter is not only good for a quarantine tank, but you can run a completely successful mixed reef tank with a hang on the back filter. There's nothing negative about a hang on the back filter. And if you end up buying like a fancy hang on the back filter, you can even put in like a protein skimmer. Let me show you guys. This is the Penflex HOB. I use this hang on the back filter from Amazon. Super duper cheap, way cheaper than you can get anywhere else, and it worked fantastic. Here we go. I think I used like the 200. Here, I'm putting a link here. All right, so here's the one I used right here. I used the Cascade 300 for my 40-gallon breeder, which was perfect, and it literally cost like $44 for this really, really huge hang on the back filter. You can go fancy. I have also used this one by Aquamax, and I believe my buddy Darren uses this one. It's fancier. You're gonna pay more money, but you can also get a protein skimmer for it. Let me see. Here's the link. I think Darren, my buddy Darren, Rogue Aquariums, uses it on an office tank up in the Seattle area, and I think it works really well. But here's the other one as well. But yeah, Nishant, totally fine. Let's see, Nishant. And how much time to quarantine if it's fish and coral? Quarantining, I think you need to have your fish quarantined a minimum of 21 days without disease. So if you find disease on a fish, then you need to wait until the fish has no visible signs of disease, and then wait 21 days after that. And really, that only has to do with the life cycle of ick and other things like that, because their life cycle is they infest, they drop off into the substrate, they multiply, they become free swimming, free floating, they reattach to the fish, and the process starts over again. So you have to make sure they're clear for 21 days to make sure that process is correctly interrupted. All right. Seachem, no skimmer. Who's up next? Ecotech, Dwight. How do you know if you have enough flow? Dwight, that's a very good question. Let me have a sip of my tea here. Oh, hey, Clarissa, you're still here. Okay, so send us pictures to my Instagram if you have them. If you don't mind sharing them with people, I'll show them here. Of your sump, of your tank. So yeah, so send me some pictures if you can at my first fish tank. And if not, just type some more details at my first fish tank. And we'll get back to you, Clarissa. All right, who are we answering? Oh yeah, how do you know if you have enough flow? All right, good question. Typically in the saltwater aquarium hobby, we try to have our water filtered 10 times an hour. So if you have a 10-gallon tank, you would want to have a return pump or a hang on the back filter that does 100 gallons per hour. That 100 gallons per hour means that your water volume is being turned over 10 times each hour. Okay, that's a good general thing. In the fresh water, it's way less. I know people who turn their water volume over 15, 20 times an hour. Now, I have heard rumors lately that turning your water volume over too much is actually a bad thing. And that's probably what I do because I over filter, right? But I would say shoot for turning your entire water volume over 10 times per hour. So if you have a 20-gallon tank, you want to get a return pump that's rated for 200 gallons per hour at a minimum. Because if you buy a return pump that's 200 gallons per hour and you're putting it in a sump, by the time it travels all the way up to your display tank, it's no longer going to be 200 gallons per hour. So you just need to think about that. How much pressure loss is there going to be, and then buy an appropriate. Now, regarding flow in your tank, how much is too much? That depends on what kind of livestock you have. Certain corals like high flow, certain corals like low flow. If you're going to go with some sort of small polyp stony SPS dominant tank, they typically love high flow, right? Because it makes the nutrients flow past them. They're able to feed a lot more, right? But if you also have some softies in there or some really tender LPS corals, that high flow might damage their polyps. So in that case, if you have a mixed reef tank, what you do is you have a high flow tank, right? And you just watch for your small polyp stonies, make sure that the flow seems to be a good amount, make sure that their polyps are extended, that they're not pulled in. And then you place your more vulnerable corals, your softies, your LPS corals, in pockets of the tank that are a little bit more shielded so that they don't get too much flow. So hope that answers your question. There's no perfect answer for that, but 10 times, yeah, but you want to turn over your water volume 10 times per hour. And then if depends on the kind of coral you have, how much flow you want in the tank. All right. Let's check back in with Clarissa here. They were all doing great until I changed the sump. They were there for 24 hours. Okay, so Clarissa, what did you have going on in the display tank for those 24 hours before you created the new sump? Did you have water movement? Did you have a wave maker in there? Did you have an air stone in there? What sort of circulation did you have for those 24 hours? And did you notice your clownfish acting funny during those 24 hours at all? All right, here we go. I created a glass aquarium just like the old sump was, with glass dividers, return pump, and filters. It killed the fish, my snails. Oh my God, the fish, snails, and crab. I have a water movement and an air pump. Clownfish was acting funny right after I switched on the pump. Okay. I don't have an answer for you, Clarissa, but I have some ideas, and maybe some other people do as well. If it killed everything, all right, if it killed your inverts and your fish, we know it's not disease, right? I mean, can everybody else agree with me? It's not disease. Disease doesn't kill like that. It has to be something else, Clarissa. So it has to be a few things. One thing it could be some sort of contaminant, right? So maybe something, because I'm guessing you use the same pump, right? So you switch the sump, but you have a new, and you also have the same pump, right? So is there some sort of contaminant? It has to be. Okay, got it. Yes. So if it's the same pump, then so it has to be one or two things. It has to be some sort of chemical you use, possibly, right? Something you used in the sump that chemically killed everybody, right? Or it could be some sort of electrical current, right? But I'm kind of doubting it's an electrical current, because the electrical current wouldn't just randomly show up if you're using the same pump. So first, think of, did you pre-wash new sump? Yes, I did. Maybe the sealant. That's my guess. I mean, did you put in baffles, Clarissa? Like, did you put in glass baffles and then use some sort of like clear silicone, or? And then what kind of silicone did you use? Three baffles. And then what kind of silicone did you use? Was it just like a black or a clear silicone you got from like Home Depot or Lowe's or something like that? Clear, okay. That stuff does set pretty quickly, but my best guess is that it didn't set all the way, and there was something that happened. I mean, I let it set for 12 hours. Did you rinse it after? I don't know if that would have mattered or not, and it probably seems solid. Yeah, you did. Okay. Well, and there's nothing else that changed, right? You used the same pump, and there's nothing else in there that changed other than the baffles, right? How long should I wait to put new fish in? So, okay, so here's what I would do, Clarissa. I mean, I think something happened with the sealant. That's the only thing I can think of, unless there's some sort of loose electrical. Now, can somebody answer this too? Is it safe to use any sort of silicone? I assume that it is, right? But what I would honestly do, Clarissa, at a bare minimum, I would run carbon. Put as much carbon as you can in a baggie, or if you have a reactor, run the carbon to pull out whatever it is in the water. Even better yet, what I would do, I would drain the water. I would be a little bit worried about it. So if you want to be super safe, I know it's a huge pain, but I would drain all the water and put new water in. If you want to be really, really safe about it, you could just start fresh. You could drain the water, you could rinse out the sand, you could let the rocks dry, you could put everything back in, and then you could do a fishless cycling method. You could use a Dr. Kim's, you could use a Brightwell Aquatics fishless cycling method to be super duper safe. But at a bare minimum, I would run carbon. Just run a lot of carbon. And it looks like Freaky Goblin here. Curing sealant takes 7 to 14 days. Okay, so maybe that could be the problem. So you're probably going to be fine. Do maybe like wait a week, do a big water change, like 50%, and then throw in a bunch of carbon. That's what I would do. 120 Reef Keeper has to be 100% silicone, must cure completely at least 24 hours. And the silicone cannot have any mold inhibitors. Okay, so that's really 120 Reef Keeper. Thank you. That's really good advice. Clarissa, I hope that helps. I think that makes sense. So double check your sealant that you have. Make sure there's no mold inhibitors. Yeah, I know, Clarissa. You didn't do anything. I mean, we all make mistakes like this. Honestly, it's not. We all make mistakes like this. So I'm sorry that it happened to you, but I'm glad you're able to stop by. I'm glad that this was helpful. Let us know how it goes. Okay, so touch back in. Send me some pictures on Instagram. I would love to see how this goes. I'm sure it's going to be fine. Now that you have a plan going forward, you know. All right, let's look back up here. Hi. Hey, if everybody's still here, if you guys haven't given this video a thumbs up yet, that would be super duper helpful. Ask any questions you have. I'm just going down through the list. We'll be here for up to 2 hours every Saturday, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'll do this more if I need to. This is meant to be like open office hours. Stop in, stay the whole time, stop in, stay for a little while, get your question answered. At least stop by, type in your question, and then you can go run, do something else and come back, because I will post this video on my YouTube channel after this is complete, and I'll put timestamps to all the questions so you can just scroll back down and find answers to all those questions. All right, here we go. 30 times per hour. Jado hustles. Yeah, 30 times. Yeah, I used to be that way too. 30 times an hour, like so much water volume. All righty. I have water movement and an air pump. Good. All right, so freaky goblin. Great. All right. Questions. Oh my gosh. I don't know. Okay, so I actually have a list of questions here. So if nobody else here has a question, I have a list of questions. Oh no, wait, I didn't go up far enough. Oh, here we go. Sorry, I missed all these. Nishant, I took XF330 as you told me the last time. It is better, so I need the schedule. Oh yeah, the Max Spec Gyre XF330, fantastic pump. I love that pump. It's perfect for like a 120-gallon tank. So I need to schedule and yeah, okay, got it. Frosty Meadow Fishes, thanks Matthew. Andy Smith, I have a 125-liter tank. Hold on. Isn't it silly that us in the United States, we still use gallons? Liters are just so much easier. 125 liters to gallons. I need to figure out how many gallons. 33 gallons. Okay. I have a 33-gallon tank with 2 clowns and a cleaner shrimp. Any advice? Ooh, good question, Andy. Okay, so 33 gallons. You have a good-sized tank. And let me send you a link. I have a beginner guide to fish. Let me see here. Saltwater fish. Here it is. Loading. All right, I'm going to link you to beginner guides and just click on saltwater fish. It just has some recommendations for beginner fish. What would I do? I'm going to be fully honest here. Okay, anybody who has good ideas on how to help Andy with his 33-gallon, 125-liter tank that has 2 clowns and a cleaner shrimp, what other livestock? And when you're saying livestock, I'm assuming you're meaning fish. Do you mean corals as well? Let's see, are you still here? Okay, so if you're still here, let me know. All right, so what I mean, it depends for like fish-wise. What do you want? When I'm thinking of how to stock my tanks, first of all, I asked an expert. I asked my friends who know fish. I don't know fish that well. So ask an expert. If you have a local fish store you trust, I have found some local fish stores. I'm looking at you, local fish store, if you're watching this. Sometimes they don't give the best advice, right? But if you can find one you can trust, like yesterday in Temecula, they were awesome. Great advice. They were like, don't buy that. Buy that. I'm like, great. Here's what to think about. You're a clownfish, semi-aggressive, right? So just remember that. They're damsel-like, semi-aggressive. All right, so the first thing to think about is the aggressivity of the other fish. 33 gallons is a good size tank. You can actually do quite a bit, right? But you got to make sure you give all of these semi-aggressive fish their space. So damsels, chromis, they can do a lot of fighting with each other, right? So think about the aggressivity. Then think about where do they live. Your clownfish are going to congregate in one area of the tank. That's just how they are. They might choose a piece of rock. They might choose an anemone. They might choose a wave maker. Who knows? Like, who knows why they do what they do? But they choose little areas of the tank, right? And that's great and all, right? But then you have the rest of the water column to do stuff with. So think about free swimming fish, fish that live at the top, fish that live in the middle, and fish that like to stay at the bottom. You know, so your bottom fish, you have different wrasse that can sometimes bury, gobies down there, blennies, stuff like that, that like to live in the rocks or near the rocks. Your free swimmers are going to be your wrasses. Some wrasses are great. There's so many beautiful wrasses out there. You can get some smaller varieties that will swim all around. Just make sure you have a lid on because wrasses are big time jumpers. And then you just have ones that just hang out in the water column. You're talking about your Bangai or your pajama cardinal fishes, you know, things like that. So when I would think about your 33-gallon tank, I would think about how can you best utilize your vertical space with peaceful tank creatures. I mean, first of all, if you have a sand bed, I love pistol shrimp goby combinations. I just picked up some yesterday. They're fun to watch. They're gorgeous. As long as you have a sandy substrate, they will live at the very bottom and not bother anybody. So they're a great fish. Your clownfish, probably won't bother too many other fish. So you could get in there some cardinal fish, you know, some really slow movers. Depending on the size of the wrasse, some wrasses could be some really good options as well. Check out the beginner guide I have over here. And if anybody else has any good advice, Watchman goby, absolutely. With or without sand, good question, Freaky Goblin. Watchman gobies are super fun. Like, there are just so many good beginner ones out there. For me, let's see, Freaky Goblin. I look at something like a starry blenny, great algae eater, Yashi goby, Randall shrimp. Yes, don't assume any wrasse is safe. Dragon wrasse is not. Research, research, research. You know, a really good place to start out research, I don't have any sort of affiliation with them, just FYI, is just Live Aquaria. So I put a link over there. And you can go specifically, if you just click on their fish, they have a lot of good advice. Now, it's not always like the most clear advice or the most detailed advice, but you can at least get a sense of what fish, the size of tank they need, if they're semi-aggressive, if they're not. Yeah, I want to get a couple of blue jaw gobies. Darren, are those hard to keep? I saw one yesterday. It was so pretty. Gorgeous. All right. Anyway, people will keep putting tips over there. Good question. Check out the beginner guide. Go to Live Aquaria. Just check out. There's a lot of good places. Go to your local fish store. Ask what they think. Make sure you trust their advice, though. All right. Moving back up. 25. Andy. Connected. All right, Nishan. Good night. Yeah, Nishan lives in India, so he's definitely on separate. He's like 12 hours different. Shout out NB Aqua Reef. All right, there's a shout out at NB_Aqua Reef. That's nice. Thanks for watching, Nishan. I really appreciate that. Nishan's been a great supporter. I really like that. I really appreciate him. Thanks for the shout out. Yes, yes. All right, Orsinus XX Dos Equis, an 8-gallon reef with Seachem's 55 Tidal for it. No skimmer, no sump. Is it okay? All right. I don't know what that is, so I'm looking it up right now. What is Seachem 55 Tidal? Is that the return pump? Seachem 55 Tidal. Hang on the back filter. All right. So let's look here. Seachem Tidal 55. I'm guessing that's 55, up to 55 gallons. What is it? For up to 55-gallon, 200-liter aquarium, highest flow rate, 250 gallons per hour. So if you have an 8-gallon reef with a 55 Tidal, so if you had let's just say it's a 10-gallon reef tank and you want to turn over the water 10 times, you'd have 100 gallons per hour. So this Tidal 55 might be, dare I say, too big. But your idea is right. An 8-gallon reef tank is totally possible. Definitely more challenging than a larger tank because water parameters can change quickly in a small tank. No skimmer, no sump. 100% possible. 100% possible. My most successful tank is my office tank. Sorry, I keep on office tank. It's my Fluval M60 mixed reef tank. It's 24 gallons. It has a rear filtration chamber. It has SPS, LPS, softies. It's beautiful. It's been up and running for a couple of years now. No problems. Can anybody guess what filtration I run on that tank? Can anybody guess? Put a guess over there if you're watching. Can you guess in my super successful mixed reef tank what type of filtration I run? I'm going to give you guys a few seconds. If you're watching. What kind of filtration do I run? Anybody? Nobody? Okay, well, I'm just going to answer it. You ready for this? This is it. And I'm not joking here. For chemical filtration for my successful reef tank. Chemical filtration? Nothing. No chemical filtration. No carbon, no GFO. Nothing. Biological filtration? Absolutely. Live rock. That's all I have. And a live sand bed. Chemical filtration? I have a single sponge that is about that size. No joke. That's all I have. A single sponge from Super Bright Water. By the way, I'm not paid by Super Bright Water. Their sponges are the best. I've used a lot of sponges out there. Bright water sponge. Here it is. It is the best sponge in the world. I don't know. I know the owner. She lives up in the Seattle area. Super nice. Her name's Sunny. This sponge is awesome. I just put a link over there. I took this big sponge. I cut off a little piece about that big, and that's the only filtration I run. My most successful tank by far. I take it out every 3 days. I rinse it. I put in a new sponge. That's all I do. No joke. So yes, can you have a successful 8-gallon reef tank with just a hang on the back filter? Absolutely. Absolutely you can. Alrighty. Moving on. Hey everybody, welcome to the live stream. Thanks for stopping by. Everybody who just joined us. This is Help Desk. We're here for beginners and anybody else who has questions about the saltwater aquarium hobby. I'll be here every Saturday, 9 o'clock till maybe 11 o'clock. If people have questions, stop by, stay for the whole time. Stop by, ask a question. I'll get to it eventually. If you can't be here today, or if you ask a question, you have to run, check back later. I will post this to my YouTube channel. Scroll down, you can find your question, click on the timestamp, and you can see what the answer is. Also, if you just want to hang out here, that's fine too, because I don't have the answers to everything. So you can use the chat feature and help answer questions as well. All right, moving on. 8-gallon. Forgot to mention, thinking of having only corals in there. Oh yeah, totally fine. Orsinus XX, totally fine. Totally fine. What's up, Jado Hustles? All right. We solved the Clarissa problem. 30 Clarissa. Thanks. Clarissa, we did Clarissa. And moving down. Clarissa. Ken, Matt, you're awesome. Thank you for helping. Oh, thanks, Ken. That's very kind of you. I really appreciate that. With or without sand, Clarissa, Washman, Goby, absolutely. I look for something like a starlight blenny, algae, and a cover. Just fish at the moment. How's it going, Nick? It's going good. How are you? So on my sump, I have 3 chambers. First one with a sock, second one with live rock and sand and a heater, then 2 sponge, and then a return pump. Is that enough, Clarissa? Yeah, totally fine. So you have a sump, so you have filter sock, live rock, so like a refugium section, and then 2 sponges. Yeah, that's, I mean, it depends on your bio load, Clarissa, but that could even be overkill depending on what you're stocking. Right now, my 40-gallon breeder tank, that is my quarantine tank, where I have the MD Elite sump by Trigger Systems. It has a filter sock. It has a large chamber with a protein skimmer. It has a bubble trap. It has a return chamber and a refugium chamber. It's overkill. I actually have been skimming out way too many, like all the nitrates and all the phosphates. So I've actually turned my protein skimmer off completely. And I'm only using the macroalgae refugium and 1 single filter sock, because I just don't want to filter too much out. So yeah, you're going to be totally fine there. You could actually do a lot, Clarissa, with that. It's a 20-gallon tank with a 10-gallon sump. Yeah. Great. I think that's a great setup. That's going to be totally fine. You don't need, unless you're going to super heavily stock a Clarissa, you're not going to need a protein skimmer. What you have there is going to be just fine. So yeah, I think you're going to be great. All right, how's it going? Alrighty, thank you so much. You have really eased my worries. I only want a few fish and no coral. Yeah, you have better filtration, Clarissa, than most people do. So it's going to be great. I'm sorry that those fish died. That sucks. But I think your next time around, you're going to have more success for sure. All right, Shervin Remazani, hello. How do you use reactor or refugium? Shervin, tell me a little bit more about what you're looking for. Are you meaning like a macroalgae refugium, or using a refugium inside of a reactor, like a macroalgae reactor, which people are doing nowadays? Because you can use reactors for so many different things, because a reactor, all it is a big piece of plastic that water flows through. I mean, that's all a reactor is. And then what you put inside the reactor really makes it a certain kind of reactor, you know, like if it's a macroalgae reactor or a calcium reactor or a kalkwasser reactor. So anyway, yeah. So tell me a little bit more, Shervin. How do you use a reactor refugium? Yeah, just let me know a little bit more about that. All right. Anybody else have questions? I'm all caught up on the questions here. So I'm going to go to my banked list that I have. So if you have a question, go ahead and ask it. And if there's no questions, that's fine. That's fine, because this is meant to be a drop-in. So people might come later, and that's totally great. I'm just going to be here hanging out and waiting. All right. So let me find my list here. May also want to mention algae. Oh yeah, algae scrubber. Absolutely. So Shervin, if you're still there, Shervin, give us some more information, because Freaky Goblin made a good point. Yeah, you also have algae scrubbers. You know, another form very similar to like a macroalgae refugium, but different setup, similar nutrient export, but how it's done is very different. All right, going to my list. Overhaul aquarium, my first fish tank. Let's see, where were the questions? Vocabulary, no, not that one. Hashtags, blog, EIN, 30 steps. Shoot, where did I save it? I have this whole list of questions that people have been asking me. Darren's Reef Show could be under that Reef Show segment, that Reef Show. All right, let's try this again. Question. Back to school, my Reef Show. Beginner ideas. Oh, here we go. Here it is. I found it. Found it. All right. Clarissa, Seachem ammonia alerts help too. Oh yeah, Ken, those are great. Although, have you ever had this happen, Ken? I've used that, the Seachem ammonia alert, and I've used them successfully. But one time, and I must have done something to it, like touched it or something. It never changed color, and then I tested the ammonia, and it was like it was like through the roof. So has that ever happened to you? I mean, it was awful. I was like, what? I was like, I have the Seachem ammonia alert. What happened? I think I might have I touched it, and maybe that destroyed it. It was probably a huge no-no. All right. So Shervin, we'll just wait for you. Anybody, if you have any questions, go ahead and write them in. If not, I'm going to look through my list here. What do you add to your tank during the cycle? Do you cycle with or without fish? Do you dose any products? Perfect question. So when I first started in the hobby 7 years ago now with my Red Sea Reefer 170, I did fishless cycling. But back then, I don't think there really was this super rapid fishless cycling method now. Because in order to cycle your tank, right, here's what has to happen. The nitrogen cycle involves ammonia, nitrite, nitrate, nitrogen gas. So first of all, your tank has to have ammonia. So how do you get ammonia in a tank? Because ammonia is not just present in a tank. How do you get ammonia? Well, you can either add ammonia chloride, or you can add fish food or some sort of piece of shrimp. Anything that dies and decays in your tank is going to turn into ammonia. Okay, so that's how. So if your first step, get ammonia in the tank. Once the ammonia in your tank, the ammonia acts like food, and what happens is you have nitrifying bacteria, which is aerobic bacteria, will take this ammonia and it will consume the ammonia, and it will take that ammonia and it will turn it into the second thing, which is nitrite. Okay, ammonia is very, very toxic to your fish and invertebrates. Nitrite is not very toxic. Okay, so it will take that ammonia. So your ammonia will go up, and then it will start consuming. Your nitrite will start consuming, and then your nitrite will be here. Right? Your nitrite will go up, okay, as your ammonia goes down. As your nitrite goes up, you're going to have one more form of aerobic bacteria. And that aerobic bacteria is going to consume the nitrite, consume it, and it's going to turn it into nitrate. Okay, so your nitrite's going to go down, your nitrates are going to go up, 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 up. Nitrate, again, not very toxic to your fish or to your livestock. Then the question is, how do you get rid of that nitrate? Well, nitrate requires a different kind of bacteria. It requires an anaerobic, a bacteria that doesn't use oxygen. And that kind of bacteria lives deep inside your live rock or in a deep sand bed, like 4 inches or below. And it will take that nitrate and it will convert it into nitrogen gas. And that nitrogen gas will then off gas through as bubbles and go out through your tank. Okay, that's the gist of it. If you just let nature do that process, it'll take 6 weeks. It takes a long, long time. And if you're setting up your first saltwater aquarium, 6 weeks feels like an eternity. No joke. It feels like a total eternity. In the saltwater aquarium world, 6 weeks is nothing. For any of you old pros in here who have been around this hobby, am I right? 6 weeks, nothing. Like we can do 6 weeks in our sleep, but when you're just starting out and you're ready, 6 weeks is an eternity, right? So the old way to cycle your fish tank was one of 2 ways. Was one, feed your tank, don't put any fish in. Throw a dead piece of shrimp in there, throw a bunch of fish food in there, let it break down to ammonia, and let the cycle do its thing. Great, very safe. The second way of cycling your fish tank was to put a fish in and to take a hardy fish, typically a clownfish, plop them in the tank, and then feed them, right? Their waste and that food is going to cause the ammonia to spike. And typically, as long as you use a really hardy fish like a clownfish and you only add like 1 or 2, then you're not gonna have any problems, because the ammonia is gonna rise, but it's never gonna get to like 2 parts per million or above, because there's just not that much food in there. So this is a fish cycling method, and it works, especially in a larger tank. But if you put in a fish that's really sensitive to ammonia, even those low levels of ammonia can damage them and stress them out and kill them, right? So in modern times, we have fishless cycling methods. And there's 2 really good ones out there that I know of, and they both are the same in essence. You have Dr. Tim's fishless cycling method, and you have Brightwell Aquatics fishless cycling method. And they both work similarly. What you do for a fishless cycling method, and they all say it can cycle in a week. I have never had it cycle in a week. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Mine take up to 2 weeks, but 2 weeks is still a lot faster than 6 weeks. All right. What you do is, instead of adding some sort of food source that will break down to ammonia, you just add ammonia. And you get a bottle of ammonia chloride, and even these little tiny dropper bottles. I have like 3 of them at home. This is like a lifetime supply of ammonia in a little bottle, because you only need ammonia at the very, very beginning of your tank. There's no reason, once your tank is established, that you would ever add ammonia, because all you would be doing would be adding poison to your tank and killing things, you know? So you only need this tiny amount of ammonia chloride, and you add ammonia in, and you add ammonia in so that you get a certain amount of ammonia, usually around 2 parts per million. Right? Now there's the food in there for your aerobic bacteria to consume, right? So then what you need the bacteria. So you can use, if you're using Dr. Tim's, it's use the Dr. Tim's one and only, or if you're using Brightwell Aquatics, you can use Microbacter or Microbacter 7, Start, XLM, different products. What you do, you add the ammonia in, you get it to 2 parts per million, then you add the bacteria in. That bacteria then will immediately start consuming that ammonia, thus jump-starting your cycle. Because normally, when you have the ammonia in here, you have to wait a while for that bacteria to find it and to develop and to start living. But if you add in the bacteria from Dr. Tim's or from Brightwell, then it just immediately starts doing it, and it makes things happen really, really quickly. So then your cycle goes through, you test. How do you know when your cycle is complete? Well, your ammonia goes up, and then your ammonia goes down. Then your nitrite goes up, then your nitrite goes down. Then your nitrate goes up, and it may or may not come down, right? Once your nitrite goes up and goes back down to 0, your cycle's done. Nitrite, the second one. Once your nitrite goes down, you can add fish, because once your nitrite goes back down, your nitrates are going to be high. How do you lower your nitrates? You do a big water change. And that's why they say once the cycle is complete, do like a 50% water change. You lower those nitrates down. So how do you get rid of those nitrates in the future? Water changes. Or 2, wait until that anaerobic bacteria colonizes. So if you're having problems with high nitrates, you can buy a lot of ceramic biomedia. You know, they come in different bio balls, like Marine Pure sells them, Brightwell sells them, all sorts of companies sell them, or they come in bricks. And you want to take those things and you want to put them in a low flow, not a high flow, a low flow area of your aquarium. Because if you put them in a high flow area, it's going to get a lot of water movement through them, which is oxygen rich. So it will be aerobic bacteria. Well, the stuff that takes the nitrate and converts it into nitrogen gas is anaerobic. So you want to make sure that you place those in a low flow area of the tank. Yeah, okay, there you go. How to cycle your aquarium 101. That was kind of long. All right. 1 hour and 10 minutes in. Thanks everybody for sticking around. If you haven't given this video a thumbs up yet, please go ahead and do that. That'd be great. For anybody who's new, my name is Matthew from My First Fish Tank. I also just go by My First Fish Tank. My goal is to help beginners in the saltwater aquarium hobby. I want you to help build your first tank. This is the help desk. I'm going to be doing this every Saturday, maybe more, where it's just live office hours. If you have a question, something's going wrong in your tank, or you're thinking about starting out a new system, come check us out at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Ask a question. We'll give you an answer. If we don't know an answer, we'll look it up. And if we still can't find it, then hopefully somebody else in here will be able to type the answer for you. If you can't be here live, you can always check us out on YouTube. Once this video processes, we'll post it to the YouTube channel. And then if you scroll down into the comments, we'll put every question with a timestamp. You can click on the timestamp and just watch it. Anyway, thanks, everybody. All right, here we go. Moving back here. Yeah, Ken, that's what I felt. I was like, why did my ammonia alert not work? All right, Dr. Tim's per you. Yeah, Dr. Tim's is great. Shervin. Oh, hey, we are Shervin. Sorry. Thanks for your attention. I mean, a biopellet reactor and macroalgae refugium for lower phosphates and nitrates. Okay. Excellent. Thank you, Shervin. Biopellets. For beginners, I do not recommend biopellets. Okay, if you're a beginner out there, do not do biopellets. Biopellets are tricky. What is a biopellet? Okay, they're these little off-white pellets. And what they are is they are a carbon source. And what you're doing is you are giving fuel for your biological filtration. And you're giving biofuel, biopellets, in form of carbon. And what happens is you put all of these little pellets in a reactor. Okay, in a reactor. And the water goes down and it passes up through them. Then all those biopellets are going to let's gently tumble. And what's going to happen over time, this doesn't happen overnight, is on top of the surface area of those biopellets, beneficial bacteria are going to colonize. And they're going to colonize in a big way because you are providing a concentrated carbon food source for them. Okay, so really, what is a biopellet reactor going to do? It is going to supercharge your biological filter, right? So it's going to help with your nitrate reduction big time, right? The problem is, number one, most tanks don't need a biopellet reactor. You have enough live rock and you have enough live sand. And so if you add in biopellets, you might strip your water of things that it needs. The second problem is biopellet reactors are notoriously fussy. Notoriously fussy. You have to watch those biopellets like a hawk, right? Because what happens, let's say you overstock your tank and you put in tons of fish and tons of coral, right? And you're like, oh my God, my nitrates are just through the roof. So you add a biopellet reactor and your nitrates start slowly coming down, right? Well, if you're not paying attention and those biopellets disappear, or half of them's gone, or whatever. Like the food source is going to disappear because those carbon pellets are going to disappear as they're being consumed by the beneficial bacteria. And if they get consumed too much without you going in and replacing them, all of that beneficial bacteria that was living there is gone. And so what could happen very, very quickly is, oh, all of a sudden your tank was doing good. Your nitrates were low. Well, it can crash fast because if you were relying on that biopellet reactor for your biological filtration and it's gone, you basically don't have biological filtration anymore, or at least anywhere nearly as much as you did. So if you're a beginner, stay away from biopellets. That's my recommendation to you. Biopellets, only use them if you know what you're doing and if you have a tank that's heavily stocked and you don't have any other ways of reducing nitrates. What else could you do in your tank? Add in ceramic media. Add in ceramic balls, ceramic plates, put them in a sump, put them in a real filtration chamber, put them in a hang on the back chamber. That will help, but it will take a little bit of time. Let's see, biopellet reactor and macroalgae refugium. So macroalgae refugiums, they're fantastic. I think they're beautiful. And they are a completely natural way to reduce your phosphate and nitrate levels. All right. The trick with macroalgae refugiums is you have to have enough food for them. So what do they need? They need light. They need nitrates, phosphates, other things as well, right? So if you're like me and you tend to overfilter your tanks, if you get macroalgae, it's just going to die because there's no phosphates or no nitrates anyways. But if you're like most people who are sane and don't overfilter their tanks, a macroalgae refugium is a very good way at reducing nitrates and phosphates. Really, there's three ways to reduce nitrates and phosphates. Water changes. You do a big water change, you reduce it. Biological filtration. So up your biological filtration, both your aerobic and your anaerobic. That will reduce your nitrates. Or a macroalgae refugium, which will reduce nitrates and phosphates. And not only is a macroalgae refugium great at removing nitrates and phosphates, but it also provides an amazing home for copepods and for amphipods, which are fantastic in any sort of saltwater aquarium. So I hope that answers your question, Sherman. If you are struggling with high phosphates and high nitrates, personally, what I would do, number one, up your filtration. Change out your mechanical filtration more. If you're using a filter sock or a sponge, change it more frequently. Rinse it out more frequently. That will remove a lot of the detritus before it's able to break down. Feed less if you possibly can. A lot of times high phosphates, high nitrates are a cause of overfeeding. Very, very common. And thirdly, add more biological filtration. That's not going to help with the phosphates, but that will help with your nitrates. So if you do have the phosphates, if you have like out of control phosphates, you could use a little bit of GFO, granular ferric oxide, or you could start some sort of macroalgae refugium, which would be my preferred way. It just will take a little while to take off, but it will definitely start to consume those phosphates and those nitrates. All right, time for a little more water. Jado, will you do a live for the Rockscape? I don't want to. Jado, I don't want to do it because, I can't. I could just set up my phone and I could just have it. I hate aquascaping. For you guys who've watched my stuff, I say it every time. I hate it. It's my least favorite part of the whole process. And I hate it because I'm not good at it. I'm one of those people that I like being good at what I do. And I don't. And I don't like, there's so many things I just don't like, and aquascaping, I'm just not good at it. But yes, okay, Jado, if I remember, I will do a live stream of my aquascaping and you can watch all of it. Okay, let us help you scape. Jado, I just need you to come over here. Okay, I need to pay a professional to come over and do my aquascapes. So, all right. Questions. Reef Builders, thanks for stopping by, Reef Builders. We'll get you a question here in a second. After cycling, introduce fish slowly. Yes, Freaky Goblin, very good advice. Not all at once. Give the bacteria time to adjust. Yeah, if you do a fishless cycling method, and then your tank is cycled, and then you're like, sweet, my tank's cycled, I'm going to add in 20 fish. Bad idea. Because yes, your tank has been cycled, but your tank has been cycled to the small amount of ammonia it started with. So if you add 20 fish in, all of that extra food and all of that extra waste is going to decay and cause another ammonia spike. So yes, Freaky Goblin, 100% right. Once your tank is cycled, add in your livestock slowly, because it's going to keep doing mini cycles until you get fully stocked. Very, very good. CC, I have a 60-gallon new tank with live rock and live sand. I started with 3 sand stars and a female emerald crab. Cycling with live rock and live sand to 6 weeks. Okay, cool. Yeah, no question there, but that's great. 60 gallon. I'd love to see a picture, CC. If you could, if you want to DM me a picture on Instagram, that'd be awesome. 60 gallons, a great size tank. Live sand, live rock. That's perfect. All right, Reef Builders. Favorite LED light and why? Do I have to pick one? Because there's a few that I like, and I like them for different reasons. All right. If I was to choose, oh, that's such a hard one, because I'm like, do I choose one? Do I choose one for beginners? Do I choose like my favorite? All right. Here we go. My favorite light right now is the Reef Breeders Photon V2. Okay. And there's a lot of reasons that I like the Reef Breeders Photon V2 pluses. Number one, it's a clean fixture. I like how slim the fixture is. I like the size of the spread. It's not like a Kessel that has all of its light LEDs, into one little puck, which is beautiful. Don't get me wrong, Kessels are fantastic products, but the spread, then everything comes out from that one point. A Reef Breeders is a larger fixture with the LEDs being spread out. So if you have a longer tank, then the spread is just naturally better. Another reason I like the Reef Breeder lights is they are significantly more affordable than comparable brands. And what do I mean by that? Are they as affordable as a Chinese black box? No, of course not. They are quite a bit more expensive. If you were going to get a 48-inch fixture Reef Breeders, you're looking at like $600 or $700, right? But if you're looking at getting something 48 inches long with like an Ecotech product, you're looking at twice that much. And don't get me wrong, I think like the Ecotech XR15s, the XR30s are probably the best lights out there. I don't think anybody's going to debate that. But I just don't recommend them for beginners, because you don't need to spend hundreds or thousands of dollars with lighting to find success, especially to find success with fish only or beginner corals. So I like that Photon V2 Plus because it straddles that middle ground, but something that is more visually appealing with a better spread and more par, not necessarily more par, but a better spread and better lenses than a standard Chinese black box, but not quite as fancy or high end as like an Ecotech product. Also, the Photons, I have been beta testing their new Wi-Fi control ability, and it's working. So my biggest complaint about the Photon V2 Pluses in the past has been there's been no app. Well, there's now an app that's in beta testing that's working. And so they're just a fantastic light. So that would be my number one go-to light. If I was to choose my second favorite light, it would be an AI Prime 16 or 32 or 64. The Aqua Illumination, I love their app. It's fantastic. I think their controllability is out of this world. The fixture itself is beautiful. The different, like the spectrum, the spread, I think is really good. And I think it's a great value. The fact that you can pick up a small puck from Aqua Illumination that can go on maybe even a 20-gallon tank for $250 with like with the mounting arm is just a great deal, especially when you consider the controllability. If you're on a super big budget, then I would recommend some sort of Chinese black box light. They work, they're just fine. I know Bulk Resupply just did a whole special on Chinese black box lights, so you can check that out. But yeah, Reef Builders, what is yours? I mean, what would you recommend? Now, if you're still here, what would you recommend for beginner? Because that's obviously my audience is I'm trying to help beginners. So obviously I'm not going to recommend necessarily the most expensive light, but what would you recommend as your favorite light for a beginner? Something that really straddles that divide between something super overpriced or something really inexpensive. But I don't know. If you're still around, Reef Builders, please let us know. I'm super curious. I would love to know. LED lights, man. That is a hard topic. Anyway, okay. And if you guys haven't checked out Reef Builders, Jake over there, they fantastic channel. So much good content. Jake Adams over there at Reef Builders. I don't know if Jake's the one here right now, but puts out so much good content. He has this beautiful studio, and his knowledge of corals and equipment is out of this world. He puts out content all the time. So go check him out, Reef Builders. Subscribe. Fantastic. He's definitely one of the few I subscribe to and watch all his videos because he's got so much good information. So anyway, Jake, if that's you, thanks for stopping by. I really do appreciate it. All right. Any other questions here? If not, we're going to go back to my magic list of questions. How is everyone, by the way? For anybody just joining us, my name is Matthew from My First Fish Tank. This is Help Desk, a chance to stop by every Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to ask questions and get your answers. Any question, doesn't matter how silly it may seem, as long as it's about the saltwater aquarium hobby, I will answer. If I don't have an answer, our great panelists over here in the chat will also help out. If you can't make it here, just stop by later. I will post this video to YouTube with timestamps for all the questions, so you can find the question, click on the timestamp, and you'll be good to go. And if you haven't done it yet, if you could give this video a thumbs up, that would be super great. All right. Good night, Freaky Goblin. We'll post my main advice for new keepers: research and patience. Yes. Freaky Goblin, I cannot agree with you anymore. Research and patience. And when we're talking patience in this hobby, we're not talking about days. We're not even talking about weeks. We're talking about months. This hobby will teach you patience, or you will quickly leave this hobby. It's just the nature of it. Yeah. All right. Moving on here. Frag shopping for fish, Matthew. Reliable sources, quality products, and where to not go. Oh, we have a question. Great. Oh, I feel so excited when we have a question, everybody. It's like, woo. Oh, I apologize. I'm in my bedroom. Our family is super lucky. We have a beautiful home, but it's just big enough for our family. So I don't have an office. So my office is here. My wife's office is on that side of the bedroom. So this is just how it is. All right, Omar. What do you think about 1 MP40 on a 54-gallon corner tank? 1 MP40. Absolutely. I run 1 MP10 on a 20-gallon tank, and that 1 MP10 is perfect. I mean, that MP40 on a 54-gallon tank will put out plenty of flow. You will have plenty of flow for your tank. The only question is what is the flow pattern going to be in that tank, right? So if you can set up your 1 MP40 in such a way that creates the water movement you want, that's great. You might do better with 2 MP10s. If for some reason you know that you want to put like 1 in the back corner and 1 down here in the front, so you can really get this cool flow pattern, then maybe that's what you want to do. you know, or if you want to get some like the cool wave movement that some people love in their tank. It always makes me nervous. I don't do that in my tank because I'm always worried you're just going to like go over the edge of my tank. You might want 2. But in terms of flow wise, 1 MP40 in a 54 gallon, yeah, that's definitely good. It's a good quality product. I've had my MP10, by the way, for 6 years, and I've had to replace the wet side once because I destroyed it. So yeah, awesome product. Rogue aquariums, I'll definitely test your patience and pocketbook. Oh, yeah. No comment, Darren. You should ask. You guys should go to Darren's channel and ask him sometime about how much money he spent on his 600 gallon tank. Do it. I won't tell you because I don't know. It's significant. It's a significant amount. This hobby can be expensive. It can be expensive. It doesn't have to be, but it can be expensive. All right, Mark. Hi, Mark. Let's see here. Hi, Matthew. Why is my ammonia and nitrite still not going down? 3 days already. Okay, Mark. 3 days really isn't very long. You added the nitrifying bacteria. It can take longer, honestly. Give it a week. Even if you've added the nitrifying bacteria, it can still take a while for that nitrifying bacteria to colonize. That nitrifying bacteria doesn't do anything if it's just floating around your system. So you need to make sure when you're adding in your nitrifying bacteria, I recommend adding it. Add it with your pumps off and pour it directly onto your live rock or directly onto your ceramic media so that that nitrifying bacteria has a chance to settle into that live rock. That's just what I would do. Give it a little bit of time. You should notice your ammonia going down in about a week, I would say. Your nitrite will definitely take longer. Yo stuff. Speaking of flow, what kind of power heads would you recommend for a cube 50 gallon? I'm trying to figure out a way to use power heads on the back corner. Oh my gosh. Okay. Yo stuff. What's your name, by the way? It seems funny calling you Ichthyo. I can't figure that out. I have recommendations, but tell me a little bit more. What's your price point and how much controllability do you need? I'm saying it correct. Ichthyo stuff. Price point and how much controllability do you need? Cole, yes, gyre is great. All right, so the thing about a 50 gallon cube aquarium versus some sort of like long rectangle or peninsula is just the flow patterns are going to be different, right? In a longer, thinner tank, you can easily get by with one power head that's going to like, you know, create some sort of flow pattern like that. But if you have a large cube and you put like, let's say like I'm the cube, right? And you put the power head back here, well, you might get some amazing flow over on this side of the tank that might come over to the middle, but then like over here, you're going to get much flow. And you can't put it at an angle because it has to be on a flat panel. So you can either get flow this way or this way. But if it's a cube, it might not cover the whole thing. So oftentimes it's good to put 2 power heads in. Or you can do what Cole said. And you can put in some sort of gyre. Right? I have used this one, which I'm going to pull up for you now. Gyre's, it's fantastic. I mean, Cole's absolutely right with this. Now it just depends on which like how big you want, but 330, the gyre 330 would be the largest one I would go with. I know Cole uses one of those. I don't know if Cole uses the ice cap or the max spec one. I've used the max spec one, but here's a link. All right, here's a link to my first recommendation, the max spec. This is really Cole's recommendation, so thanks, Cole. The max spec gyre. The reason a gyre is good is because now the biggest problem with this is where are you going to mount it, right? Like you said, you don't want to put it on the sides. So if there was a spot to mount it on the back, wall, that would be great, because a gyre is long, and I'm sure you've seen them before, but it has like a pump over here, a center section, and a pump over here, right? So the good thing about a gyre in a cube tank is it puts out flow. Like, it doesn't put out flow like this, puts out flow this whole size, right? So it's going to cover more distance. But the question is where can you mount that, right? Because if you don't want it on one of the sides, then you're going to have to mount it on the back, and you might not be able to mount it on the back, especially if you have some overflow in the way. So that one might not work for you. Yeah, it would have to be vertical. So yeah, exactly what you said. But you can mount vertical. I mean, you can mount them vertical, I believe. Am I wrong? I think you mount them vertical, right? And then you get flow around the tank like that, which probably isn't ideal. So then you need two smaller ones. So you're saying here, power price. Okay, price point doesn't really matter. Seachem controllables. I have two outlets with wide flow. Hey, oh, PSA. Hi, Jake. Okay, so what will my recommendations be? Well, if aesthetics matters to you, which it sounds like it does, right? Then you're probably going to want something that's small, and you said you want something controllable. So let me give you a couple options here. I mean, the high end, obviously. Okay, if you're going to go like super high end, you're going to go with something like the Vortec MP10s or MP40s. You could probably get away with 2 MP10s on the back. You know, that's going to set you back, you know, $500-600. They also stick out more. Like an MP10 is like this, right? When if you go with something like a Nero or a Reef Breeders, it's gonna be different. So an Ecotech MP10, you know, top of the net, top shelf. Or you could go with something like, I don't know if you've seen these, I'm sure you have, something like a Nero. I've never used it, but AI makes good products, and it's similar to another product I've used. Here's a link for it. The Nero, it is a little bit more compact, right? Controllable as well, but a little bit more compact, which can look good. The Seachem pumps that you've mentioned, I've never used those, but I've had some friends who've used them, and they like them. I love Seachem pumps. I think Seachem makes some of the most fantastic pumps out there. They're just not the prettiest. You know, I'm sure you know what I mean. Like, they're a little bit more boxy than some of the other pumps out there. Another pump you could check out is this one by Reef Breeders. It's called the RP-M. Reef Breeders. I've used these. The good thing about the Reef Breeders, let me find a link for you. Here you go. Here's a link for these. The good thing about these is, well, there's a couple things. One, like if this is the edge of the glass, right? This is the wet side. They don't stick out like the MP10. They're very, very flat. Also, an MP10 flow pattern comes out pretty straight. Yes, I mean, it does spread a little bit, but the RP-M or the Nero, it's going to go, it's going to spread out a lot faster, you know? So it's going to have a much broader flow. And then for like the RP-M, it just has a tiny little magnet on the side. So you don't see a lot. So you can easily, for example, if you were to buy an MP10 from Ecotech, you couldn't mount the MP10s on your back wall if you had a rear filtration chamber, because you would have to place the power into the water, which doesn't work. But if you go with like the Reef Breeders, you can actually mount those Reef Breeders on the back wall, because the power head itself is wet and it goes in the glass. And then you could take the small magnet from the Reef Breeders and put it into the back weir or into the hang on the back and attach it that way. So it could be completely hidden back there. Yeah, so it does have a center overflow. Okay, so yeah, it's a drill tank. Oh, the SCA, oh yeah, okay, the SCA 50. Yeah, so if it has a standard weir, what you're gonna wanna do then is just put 2 on there. You know, put 1 on each side and just choose whichever one's your favorite. MP10's great, Reef Breeder RP-M, AI Nero is great. Those Seachem pumps are a little bit more boxy, they're great. really depends on controllability. The MP10, totally controllable, super easy to control. You can use the controller. You can get one of their apps for it. The Reef Breeders RP-M has a controller. Not very easy to use, but it still has a controller. More affordable, only like $130. Something like the Seachem pump's going to be middle of the ground, controllable a little bit more. It just really depends on what you're going for. I think I have. Let me see here. I think I have. This might be out of date. I think I made a gear guide. Let me see. I'm going to my website here. I think I made a gear guide for wave makers. Oh, I did. Here, let me see what I recommend. I'm updating these. So here's a list to my gear guide. A link to it. I say the Hydrocoralia, very inexpensive. I say Aquamatic. I don't even think they make this anymore. Oh my gosh, I gotta update this. I'm sorry. This is so old. The Reef Breeders, that's still a good one. The Tunesy Turbell, I don't know. I made this so long ago. And then the Ecotech Vortech. Anyway, if it was just me and I had your tank and money didn't matter, I would go with the Vortech MP10 or MP40s. That's what I would do. They're nice. They've lasted forever. I like their controllability. That's what I would get. If I was mounting the Wave Maker on the side, Ichthyo stuff, if I was mounting it on the side, I would go with the Gyre XF330. I just think it puts out a good flow pattern. So if money doesn't matter and you don't mind mounting it on the side, go with the Gyre. If money doesn't matter and you want to mount it on the back, I would go with the MP10s or MP40s, depending on how much flow you wanted. Anyway, that's what I would do. Sorry, long answer. Yeah, I hope that was helpful. Whew. All right. Let's go back up to the top here. Gyre will be good. Thanks for your video. Oh, thanks, Ichthyo stuff. I really appreciate that. They're fun to make. Cole Woods, yeah, Gyre be good. Mark, thanks, Matthew. I'll do your suggestion. Power, my first. Yes, I have 2 outlets with wide flow. Scott, hello from Scotland. And P.S. Say hi to Jake Adams. Jake, if you're here, you have some friends from Scotland saying hi. Yes, I am shallow the way things. I am shallow the way things look matter. That doesn't mean you're shallow. It means you have a good aesthetic sense. There's nothing wrong with aesthetics. There's nothing wrong at all. It doesn't mean you're shallow. I mean, why would you get into this hobby to make something ugly? You get into this hobby to make something beautiful, right? That's what I think anyways. Nero are fish killers. Oh my gosh, really? Nero are fish killers? They get sucked in? Oh my gosh. I didn't know that. I didn't hear about that. Well, I guess you could put like some mesh around them. Anyway. Doesn't have to be center. Drilled SCA 50. Hi from Scotland. Hi, Scott. Scott Morrison. MP60s. Yeah, Rogue Aquariums. Go big or go home, right? Love your videos. Thank you. Mark, Louis. One more question. How long does it take before I turn on my return pump to settle down the nitrifying bacteria? So going back to your old question, I don't just give it like 20 minutes. I don't think you need to wait that long. I think 20 minutes is going to be totally fine. And will my pH be affected? Maybe in the short term, but not significantly. I mean, do you have fish in there yet, Mark? It doesn't even matter if you don't have fish in there. If you do have fish in there, 20 minutes with it off is going to be totally fine. It's not going to drastically change your pH that quickly, really. Any best way how to do fishless cycle faster? So, Mark, tell me a little more. Are you using the Dr. Tim's? Are you using Brightwell? Did you add ammonia chloride in? Tell me a little bit more, because I just did the Brightwell fishless cycling method, and I used ammonia chloride from Brightwell or from Dr. Tim's. It's exactly the same. It doesn't matter. And then I used this product. Let me find it here. I think it's called Start. Here it is. Dr. Tim, then I use ammonia. Okay, then I used ammonia chloride. Okay. So a couple things of note here. hold on, let me give you the link here. This is the nitrifying bacteria I recently used with great success, and it cycled in less than 2 weeks. One tank cycled in a week, one took a couple weeks, okay? So Mark, the thing about it is, and I'm not saying you did it wrong. I don't know how you did it, but the thing about fishless cycling is you have to do it in the right order, right? You need to add the ammonia chloride first. So now, if you add them both at the same time, that's probably going to be fine. But if you add nitrifying bacteria and then the next day you add ammonia chloride, that's not going to work, because you're going to add this nitrifying bacteria in, and the nitrifying bacteria is going to look for ammonia to consume, but there's going to be no ammonia in your tank, so there's not going to be anything for it to consume. So what you have to do is you have to add your ammonia first and get it to the right level, around 2 parts per million. Once your ammonia is at the right level, then and only then do you add in your nitrifying bacteria, because it will have something to consume. So that's the first tip. I'm sure you did it right, but just in case, for people out there, you have to do it in the right order. Then it's the kind of nitrifying bacteria you have. Dr. Tim's works well, but I had luck with the fast, what's it called? Start XLM. Brightwell Aquatics Mitrobacter Start XLM. That's one I just used, that I have a link over here. And it went really fast. But if you follow the directions, if you go to, let me see if I can find quick cycle. Here we go. I'm gonna check out this link. If you scroll down, this is at Marine Depot. Scroll down here, and you can see, where is it? It tells you what to do. Day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. So it says day 1, when you're doing this method, turn off the skimmer, turn off the UV sterilizer, remove filtration, remove filter socks, right? And then it says add your quick cycle, and then after that's done, add your microbacter start. Okay, so make sure you do all those things. Make sure your UV's off, your filter socks are removed, so on and so forth. Then day 2, you measure. Day 3, you measure. Day 4, it says if you have ammonia or nitrate, if you have ammonia or nitrite over 0.25, then you can add more bacteria. So that's a way to do it faster, right? If you notice that by day 4, by using Brightwell or a Dr. Tim's, that your ammonia and your nitrite are still kind of high, then you can add more bacteria, nitrifying bacteria, into there to speed things up. So anyway, those would be my recommendations for doing a slightly faster. Test every day and add more nitrifying bacteria at day 4 to kind of speed up the process. Alrighty, we're moving now. Thanks. I love your videos. Great production. Thank you. That's super kind of you. I really appreciate that Ichthyo stuff. Mark. All right, Dr. Tim's. I think we answered you. Omar, does SPS, specifically Monty caps, grow faster with a lot of flow? Omar, I have no idea. Can somebody answer that? Darren, are you here? Darren knows a lot about corals. I don't know if he knows a lot about SPS corals. Can anybody answer that question? I am not an SPS expert at all. I have 2 pieces of SPS because people have given them to me. I don't personally ever buy SPS. I'm just not drawn to them as much. So can somebody help answer Omar's question? Do Monty caps grow faster with a lot of flow? If you know the answer, help Omar out. I don't know. I'm going to type it in, though. Let's look it up. Let's see. Do SPS grow faster, more flow? Question mark. Maybe somebody on the forum answered this. Corals. It looks like both Reef Supply has some videos. SPS plus flow times flow equals growth. Fragging SPS, faster growth. What flow rates? Looks like, Omar, there's some stuff on Reef to Reef. I'm looking here. Better increase. I noticed better. This is just from the forums, so take it with a grain of salt. I noticed better extension and growth when I increase flows for my acros. Some believe you can't have too much flow. I've observed the long while it's definitely not about total turnover, the more sources of random you can make. Let's see. The more sources and random you can make the flow, the more stimulating it is. Thanks, Reef Builders. I appreciate that. Currently on my rimless, something grows here. I'm looking here. J-bows. PP, one of the smallest. I don't know. Jacob, you're there. Do you know the answer to this? You probably would. Somebody asked. Omar asked, do Monty caps grow faster with more flow? I'm sure it's a more complicated question than that. So if you have the answer, that would be fantastic. So flow, not necessarily, but definitely more light. Okay, there you go, Omar. Not necessarily. So your answer is not necessarily more flow, but definitely more light. Yeah, thank you, Jake. That's super helpful. Omar, if you don't follow Reef Builders yet, go check him out. He's a coral pro, no joke. So go check out his videos, and you'll probably get a lot of your questions answered because he knows so much about corals. It blows my mind. All right, moving on here. You should think about doing one of the streams where people can join. I am going to do that. But I'm new to live streaming, and so I am currently using. Okay, so I have. Here's what I have. I want to use this camera and this microphone. And last week I used this microphone for streaming. It was awesome. But this computer won't recognize this. The camera I can't use until I get my digital video card, which comes in this week. So hopefully next week I will be able to do 4K with a good microphone. And then once I have that, I'm going to be getting an open source. I'm going to be getting a program basically that will let me live stream via Skype with up to 6 different people. So stay tuned. We will be getting better at this, I promise, and we will be able to have people come and join the show as well. So, all right. Yes, so that's going to happen. Scott. Hi, have the Nero 5, but put a guard on the top. Yeah, okay, so that's great. Yeah, I mean, really, if you have anything like a Nero, any sort of wave maker, anybody who has anemones know this, that anything that can move can get sucked into them. So having a mesh filter, some places sell them specifically. You can make them yourself, but putting something on around it will protect your fish, protect your livestock. You'll just have to pull the mesh filter out, rinse it off occasionally, and then put it back on. Alrighty. Fariz Hakimi, can you suggest suitable coral for my light? The AquaKnight Spectra. All right, well, let's look it up. I don't know what the AquaKnight Spectra is. AquaKnight Spectra. Ooh, okay. AquaKnight. Fariz, where are you from? I haven't seen this light much here. Looks like. Oh, it looks. Does anybody even sell it in the U.S.? Premium Aquatics might sell it. Yeah. Okay. So let's look at here. AquaKnight. Let's be cool. Nano professional LED layout. I don't know anything about this light. Has anybody? Oh, Malaysia. Huh? Well, thanks for watching from Malaysia. It's got to be late or early where you are, right? All right. Features of this light. For anybody curious what light we're talking about, here's a link. Okay. Nick says AquaKnight is the goat cheap. Okay, so it's evidently a black box, inexpensive light. Let's see here. Power Cree. So it has violet, blue, royal blue, and white. It looks like the spectrum. Oh, by the way, once I get better at this live streaming, I will also be able to share my screen so that I can show you all this stuff too. So maybe next week. Maybe next week. Okay, so it looks like it's very heavy in the blue spectrum. I don't know how much Para puts out. 2 a.m. That's nice. I can't believe how late that is. I don't know about this light. I don't know anything about how much Para puts out. I've never seen anything about it. So here's what I would recommend for corals. Okay. I'm going to recommend you go to my website, but I'll send you the link. I have a beginner guide to corals, softies, and LPS just to be sure. You know, I don't know if it's putting out enough for anemones or for SPS, but here is my beginner guide to coral. Here we go. So here's a link to my beginner guide to coral. There's a lot of good options out there, especially for lights. I mean, I bet you that AquaKnight light puts out enough for softies and for large polyp stony corals, right? Just stay away probably from any SPS corals until you know. if you have anybody like a neighbor in Malaysia or a reef club nearby, somebody might have a par meter, so you could at least get some general readings about the par. But other than that, just stick with easier to keep corals that are in my beginner guide, and that should give you a good place to start. Woo, I mean, we've almost been at this for 2 hours already. By the way, I'm Matthew from My First Fish Tank. If you're just joining us, this is Help Desk. We're gonna do this live every single Saturday, maybe a little bit more, from 9 to 11, a little bit later if people have questions. To answer your questions about the saltwater aquarium hobby. If I don't know the answer, I will look up the answer. And if I can't find the answer, then hopefully all of our people on the chat can also help point you in the right direction. Ask any question about the hobby. It doesn't matter how small it is. We all remember being beginners in this hobby and how frustrating it was to get decent advice. If you want to watch us later, or you missed this, or you're like, I want to ask a question, but I can't stick around for the answer, that's fine. I will post these videos as soon as they are done processing on YouTube. I will post them on YouTube, and you can go down into the comments, and I will put every question with a timestamp, and you can click on the timestamp and see the answer to your question. By the way, that takes me a really long time to do. I spend a couple hours like going through and doing all that. But anyway, happy to do it. All right, let's do a couple more questions, and then I gotta go do something else. I've been sitting here for a couple hours already. Alrighty. Rogue, I beta tested it and can tell your audience it works. Suitable coral. It works within that time frame of 6 to 7 days. I believe Jake and Worldwide Corals. Okay, so Rogue Aquariums has tested the Brightwell fishless cycling method, and it works really well. It worked well for me too. It seemed to work a little faster than the Dr. Tim's. That's just what I saw. I could be totally wrong. It did seem to work faster, but one of my tanks, when I did the fishless cycling, I had to add in that Start XLM a second time. So just FYI. Alrighty here, Fareeze, 2 a.m. Thank you for watching us in Malaysia. That's super nice of you to stay up late. Ichthyo stuff, inappropriate reefer use it. Oh, Moki used it as well. Are we talking about the Start XLM? Cool. Nick, yeah, Inappropriate Reefer did a budget nano series. Oh yeah, that $147 nano series he did. That was a good series. He has some really beautiful tanks, doesn't he? Moki has he does really well with his corals and stuff. Like, they're beautiful, so luscious. Like that one frog spawn he had and those anemones. I'm just super jealous of his tanks. I don't know how he does it all, honestly. He does so much with his tanks and his new wife and his new kid. It's just crazy. Really entertaining, though. Check him out, Moki Inappropriate Reefer. I mean, I think everybody probably knows. I mean, he does some fantastic fun videos. Way more fun to watch than mine. No joke. He's way more entertaining than I am. So check him out for sure. Mark, me too. I'm on Singapore. You're at Singapore, Mark? Oh my gosh, you guys are so late. Thank you for watching. Much appreciated. Oh, if you haven't given this video a thumbs up yet, if you could do that, that would be great. Thank you guys. All right, what are we doing here? Any more questions here? Same. I had to add it twice, but I love most Brightwell. Yeah, Brightwell makes good stuff. No complaints. Yeah, I use a lot of Brightwell stuff. So they use really good stuff. If you're very entertaining, thank you. That's super kind of you. Okay, last chance, last call. Anybody else have any sort of question they want to ask? Go ahead and ask it now while I pour my last cup of tea, because we are approaching the 2-hour mark, which is a long time for me to just be talking at everybody here. I'm gonna take a couple sips, and if you have a question, you can go ahead and ask. This has been fun. This is really enjoyable. I can't believe how many people have been watching this. It's kind of surprising. We've had like 15 to 20 people the whole time, which is amazing. So thank you guys for watching this and supporting this channel. I really appreciate it. You guys have no idea how much I appreciate it. Sometimes when you're a YouTuber and a content creator and a blogger, you just get lost in your own world. You know, you're writing blogs all day, or you're doing back-end editing, or you're doing newsletters, or you're producing content, you're editing. You just get in your own space, and it can be exhausting, and you can forget about the greater community. So it's really nice to have this. All right, here we go. What is the chemical breakdown of alkalinity to calcium? You are hilarious. I have no idea. So, and I'm glad you're joking. But you know what? I'm going to research it. What is the chemical? Because I did this video. Actually, you should check this out. I actually like doing the science stuff. So here, check out this video stuff. How many people watched it? Which I don't know why. I mean, not many people watch my videos anyways. I don't know why. Like I spend all this time and I don't get that many people to watch my videos, but you know what? Doesn't matter. I like making them. Okay, but here we go. Check out this video. Science. This is my most scientific video I've ever made. And it took me, it was a, no, what is it called? Science? I gotta find it. No. RODI? Oh, here it is. Wait. Oh, here we go. Okay. Okay, you got to check this out. It was this video, 7 minutes, 32 seconds. Okay, Ichthyos stuff. 7 minutes, 32 seconds. It took me like 5 hours to research. I go through I learned all the science behind reverse osmosis deionization. I learned how sediment filters work, how carbon filters work. Like I understand now how they take the carbon and they blast it with oxygen and it creates a porous structure, and it's adsorption, not absorption. And then I learned about how reverse osmosis worked, about how osmosis, how water travels from the area of low particulate to high particulate. So how you have to apply pressure. And then I learned about DI resins and the cations and the anions. Anyway, I learned about all the science, and it was really, really fun to do. So maybe I will learn about calcium. Wait, what did you say it was? Alkalinity to calcium absorption. maybe that one will be next. Honestly, don't know how anyone in the community has better edited videos than you, Nick. That is really kind of you. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I take pride in the work I do. And I like my videos. I just, I think there are many other YouTubers out there that while they may not edit as well as I do, they tell a better story and they're more entertaining because they're more livestock based, you know, and I think people really like livestock. I'm more equipment based. I'm trying to work into more of the livestock base. And I struggle with telling those stories. Some of my videos are better than others, but if you look at some of my videos, for the amount of followers I have, I'm getting close. Subscribers I have, I'm getting close to 10,000, but I don't get near the amount of interactions. And I think that I don't know why. But thank you. That's really kind of you. I really, really appreciate that. Freeze, thank you. I really appreciate it. You guys are super kind. I'm also looking forward to the Octo build. Okay, guys, 2 hours, 2 minutes. If you haven't done it yet, please like this. This video with all the questions will be up on YouTube. Last time it took YouTube 12 hours to process this video. So it may take 12 hours again. Mea culpa if it takes 12 hours. Check back tomorrow and you can review all the questions and join us again. Join us next week. We'll do this again, 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Check out the new video if you haven't yet. It's video 1. It would be a really great help if you guys could watch it. It's all about Aquaforest products. It's one of my favorite videos I've made, and it's one of my worst performing videos out there. Even my thumbnail is amazing. Here, let me find it for you guys. Like the thumbnail is really good, and it's like one of my worst performing videos. But it's such a good video. Like it's edited so well, and it's really good. But we're set up basically. It is called Europe Invades. Yeah. It's so sad. I wish I could share the screen with you. It's called Europe Invades, and it's all about the Aquaforest products and the Reef Octopus products that we're using, and it is doing terribly. But here is the link to that video if you guys want to watch it. Share it around. That would be really great. I appreciate that. And next week, next Friday, next Tuesday, we're having a top lids video come out. And then Friday, we'll have the Innovative Marine. I spent all day yesterday going to Temecula and going fish shopping. And so we will have that video live. Anyway, thanks everybody. I really, really appreciate it. You guys are super great. Have a nice day, everybody. And we will see you next week. Happy reefing.